Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Pursuit Podcast. I'm your host, Jordan Antonair. And in today's episode, we are joined in studio by Jason Plant, a pro staff member right here at Vance Outdoors. We discuss fishing in Texas as a young boy, competing in walleye tournaments, his path to joining our team, trolling on Lake Erie, and we share tips for targeting huge muskies. This was a super fun episode to record and really has us excited to get back on the water. Please welcome Jason Plant. All right, everyone. Like I just mentioned in the intro, we have Jason Plant in the studio with us today. Sir, how you doing?
Hello.
And we also have Hunter Moss back in the studio with us, sir.
What's up, guys? How you doing?
And if you recall, he was on a previous episode with Brian Slayton. If you haven't listened to that episode, it'll be episode 4. So go ahead and swing on back there and check that out after you listen to this. Jason is a pro staff member here at Vance Outdoors, as well as a multi-species angler. And we're definitely excited to have you on, buddy. So thank you for coming down. Before we dive into some of the fishing talk, man, let's talk about your background a little bit and kind of what got you started in the fishing. And
Yeah, so I was actually born in Texas at Fort Hood. I'm a military brat. I actually served in the military too, but lived there till I was about 11 years old. And as far back as I can remember, I've just been enamored with fishing. You know, my father started taking me fishing when I was a kid. A lot of crappie fishing, mostly meat fishing. We're trying to catch fish so we could eat them. We'd go out. The local lake that we fished is Belton Lake. It's in central Texas. The town I lived in until I was 11 years old is called Temple, Texas. And we'd go out there and, fish at night. We use crappie lights. I don't know if you guys are familiar with crappie lights, So, I can remember things like you're sitting there, you're tired, and you haven't had a bite for a while, but then a school of shad would come through, and the white bass would be following them, and every rod would go off at one time. It was old school, right? We were just bell sinkers, minnow on each line. Not really a bass boat necessarily. My dad's buddy John had like a cuddy cabin boat. We had the rods like sitting there. We'd lose rods too occasionally. A big gar or something would grab a rod and yank them over the side. So that that kind of began my love for fishing in the outdoors. I've been a hunter too, so we used to do a lot of rabbit hunting, and we had beagles and stuff growing up. And then when I was 11, my parents got divorced, and I relocated back to Ohio. My dad's family's all from Worcester, Ohio.
Okay, yeah.
He ended up getting remarried, and we were relocated to a little town in Holmes County, not too far from here, Killbuck, Ohio.
Yep.
And then I was introduced to a whole new kind of fishing, which was creek fishing. So my friends and I used to go out, collect our own night crawlers, and sit on the banks of the Killbuck Creek and fish for suckers and carp and bullhead catfish. And if we could get into a farm pond,
oh, for sure.
Yeah, that was like that was like the big deal, right? If you could get somebody to give you permission to let you fish in their farm pond, we'd go in and catch bass, crappies, bluegills. But most of the time it was fishing in the creek. And I'll tell you something that really got me into the toothy critters. I know I love walleye and muskies, but there are northern pike in the Killbuck Creek, and they're really in the spring. A lot of times they'll you've got these the creek's usually high, but the feeder creeks that go into it will clean up first, and those pike will actually congregate at the mouths of those feeder creeks, where the clean waters meet in the dirty water, right? So one of the techniques a lot of guys will do is they'll use creek chubs on bobbers, and you'll see these guys posted up at every feeder creek all the way down in Holmes and Wayne County. That's all the spots. And I can tell you that the first pike we ever caught, we didn't have chubs. We were fishing with night crawlers on the bottom for suckers, and my buddy hooked one, and it got up to the bank, and it was in April. Water was probably 40 degrees. And I was so determined to get this pike that I actually went in the water after it in like 40-degree water and threw it up on the bank and got it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was probably like a 30-incher, but to me that thing was like
that's huge.
Oh, yeah.
For Ohio,
I was in 6th or 7th grade. We were. That thing was
fantastic.
That thing was going. It went in the freezer hole and probably never got mounted or whatever. So that's kind of how I got started. And I just. I've always had a love for fishing, and then
Did you guys ever used to like grow your own or like have the worm bed? Or
yeah, we had the worm bed. Yeah. I mean, that
was so much fun.
Yeah,
as a
that's
kid,
a lot of fun, right? I love going out with the flashlight at night. Because that's the other thing in Texas, we didn't have.
Yeah.
The Canadian night crawlers, like the worms we used to catch. This is going to sound really weird, but we'd catch earthworms down there, and the way you got them is we'd make this bleach solution, and we'd pour it on the ground, and it would force them out. Okay. But they don't look anything like a night crawler, and the fish don't seem to like them as well either, believe it or not. Probably because they never make their way into the system, But we used to do a lot of fishing in the lakes in Texas. You're just making me think too. There's another bait that we used to use. There were rivers in Central Texas, the Brazos River and a few others, and we would make bait balls to fish for catfish. And one of the formulas that we used to catch these catfish was Limburger cheese. What? So we'd use Limburger cheese and canned biscuits and flour and make Limburger cheese dough balls.
And if you're hungry,
and if you haven't smelled Limburger cheese, just go to the grocery store and it's in the cold food section. Just have a sniff and you'll see why catfish love it.
No doubt. Did you ever eat one?
Oh no. Listen, I mean, and I'm a cheese guy, right?
I am too.
Yeah, but Limburger cheese does not smell appetite. I don't know if you guys smelled
I've
Limburger.
Never even heard of it.
It comes in a block.
Like Velveeta?
It looks like the foil from Velveeta, but it's probably like a 3-inch by 2-inch, rectangle. And
go grab some at Kroger on the way back to the store.
It reeks. It really.
I'm good.
But it works for catfish, man. It works. Anything stinky will work for catfish. But
so, after all this, how did you link up with Vance's? How did the story with Vance's start?
So, I went to school here in Central Ohio. I went to undergrad at Otterbein, and then after Otterbein, actually enlisted in the Army because I had too much student debt and needed to get that paid off. So you could either, when you go into the military after college, most people go in as an officer if you have a college degree. But the way the Army did it at that time, this was 1999. They gave you a choice. You could, if you enlisted, you got a signing bonus and you got student loan repayment. If you went in as an officer, you just got whatever a lieutenant makes. So financially for me, it was mostly a financial decision. I got to be quite honest, just to go in the military. But I went in and got, became enlisted, went to basic training at Fort Benning, and then, I signed up for 4 years actually. This is kind of an interesting story, and you'll see why I'm telling it. But so I signed up for active duty in December of '99, and was due to stay in until 2003. And my chosen duty station was Fort Campbell, Kentucky. I was supposed to be in there for 4 years, as an infantryman. Got a $20,000 signing bonus, which was like, I thought I was like, back then, like Emmitt Smith or something. Like I'd signed an NFL contract. I was big time, right? So, and then they pay off 1/3 of your student loans for every year you're in there. But I got in. I got to Fort Campbell. I did my basic training at Fort Benning. Then I got to my duty station at Fort Campbell, and I found out they have a program called Green to Gold where they'll actually pay for you to go back to college. And since I already had an undergraduate degree, I quickly figured out that I'd like to get my MBA. And I actually ended up getting a scholarship from his name's Richard Cody. He was the commanding general of the 101st Airborne. And I think it was the second Iraq War. He was the lead general in that war. He was a former Apache pilot. But anyway, I got my papers to get off of active duty, and my first day of graduate school was September 11th, 2001. So, yeah, so I literally dodged a bullet on that one. I obviously didn't go overseas and serve or whatever, but and it's kind of interesting. In that time period there, I kind of got away from fishing a little bit. I was just so busy with the military and school and all that stuff. And then in 2003, when I graduated with my MBA, I got a job as a pharmaceutical rep. My first job was in Chicago, and I ended up meeting some docs up there that were fishermen. And I started fishing again with those guys, and really kind of re-engaged the fishing bug. With a couple of my buddies up there, and we took yearly smallmouth bass trips up to Door County in Wisconsin in the spring, smallmouth bass fishing up there, And then I moved back to Ohio. I was in Chicago for 4 years. I moved back to Ohio in 2007 and reconnected with a friend of mine, Rod Weaver, and we started getting into the walleye fishing. At that time, I had a 17-foot Tracker Targa with a 90 horsepower Merc on it, and we actually ended up breaking the stringers in that boat on Lake Erie, and so I went out and I sold that boat. I went out and got a used Tracker Tundra, and broke the stringers in that one too.
Man,
broke the windshield in it, broke the string. Yeah, we were cowboys a little bit, right? But we ended up getting my third boat I had was a Lund 2025 Pro V with a 225 Honda. Kind of a sad story. Actually, I bought that boat from a guy in Indiana, and he built it. It was kind of his dream boat, and the poor guy built the thing. Had it ordered from the Lund factory, and then he didn't have it for a year, and he passed away.
Oh, man.
So I found that boat, and we had some good success in it. So Rod and I started fishing the Lake Erie Walleye Trail, and proceeded to get our butts kicked for several years. Lots of zeros, lots of painful days. Lots of we'd usually find them pretty good in pre-fishing, but we would choke on tournament day, and then there's a pro on Lake Erie. His name's Mark Brumball. You guys have met him. He's been to the Vance shows. And in 2008, I went and fished a tournament with him in a Lund 208 with a 300 Verado on it. And I fished with him on day 2 of the tournament. He won the tournament. And we were fishing with reef runners up off of the Lorraine sandbar, they call it. So there's kind of right off Lorraine there's a sandbar, and those that time it was I think that tournament was in September, I want to say. Anyway, I think he pulled a 38 or 40 pound bag that day. I mean, my arm hurt from reeling in 7 or 8 pounders. Like, we caught a bunch of big fish that day, and I just remember riding back with him in that boat, back to the weigh-in. I was like, man, I got to get one of these. Like, this thing is freaking badass. So that was an all red one he had. The next year, he ordered one. It was silver with a red interior, and I was like, I'm getting that boat. And as soon as I saw it, I told him I wanted it, and I bought that boat. That would have been like. So by the time I got that one, it was probably 13 maybe or 14.
With a 300?
With a 300.
Verado?
Bass boat, 62 mile an hour boat, I think. And then Rod and I won the Lake Erie Walleye Trail in that boat in 2015.
Really?
Team of the year. Yep. That's the boat. That's the boat we won. Yep. So we got on the hot streak. We never won a tournament that year, but I think we got like 2nd, 4th, and 7th was our. It's four tournaments. It's your best best 3 out of the 4. It's a points-based series. A lot of good sticks, man. Brumball fishes it. Jason Koff.
Is that a big payout?
It wasn't a huge payout, monetarily, but
it was more of just.
But here's the thing, man. Like, you get this big, cool trophy, right? And better yet, so this was a long-winded way of saying, like, how did I get connected with Vance's? When I won that, Rod and I won that series together. I made a fishing resume, and I knew Vance's was a Lund dealer. And tried to go to Todd. I emailed him. I called him, whatever. Not much luck. He finally, I think, got sick of me bugging him and sent me to Larry. and I went in and talked to Larry, and Larry was, Larry had told me, look, man, we've had pro staff guys before, and most of them don't last. They don't. Everybody wants to be pro staff, but they don't want to do pro staff stuff to help the. Help the dealership and help the cause, right? So he gave me a shot, and so I've been with. That was 2016, so I guess it's 6 years already.
How many boats have you got from us?
So I've gotten 2. I've had 2 219s, both with 350 Verados, and then I had a 2175 Limited was the third one, and then now I've got a 2075 Pro V Bass. So
tell the story about the 21.
The first one I got from you guys?
No, the one you just sold recently.
Which I don't know what.
Didn't you ship it over to Russia?
Oh no, I had a guy. Actually, it was funny. There was a guy from Ukraine.
Oh,
That's
timely,
what it
right?
was.
That's
The
very
guy
timely.
wanted to buy it, and
I forgot about that.
but I didn't.
remember.
But I ended up not going with him because I don't know, man. I never felt right about it. I was
I
like,
thought you
man.
sold it to him.
No, I ended up selling it
okay.
to a guy in New York, a guy that fishes. He actually fishes near Niagara Falls, and a couple days after he bought the boat, he called me, and he, for whatever reason, forgot to put fuel in the boat, and he called me. He's like, dude, I'm on the trolling motor right now, and if I'm glad your batteries are good on your trolling motor because I would have gone over Niagara Falls had I not had he ran out of gas.
Could you imagine?
I
So
know.
was he doing that float for what is it, steelhead?
No, he does steelhead, walleye, smallmouth bass. He guides up there.
Larry's doing that trip soon.
Is he?
That float, yeah.
Yeah.
They said we were talking to one of our sales.
He might be
reps.
fishing with that guy, or is he fishing with somebody else?
What's his name?
He met the guy.
Does he live up by his place in Erie?
No, this guy lives in Larry might have met the guy somewhere.
Yeah.
This guy's, I think it's called Angler's Edge is the name of his.
Okay. Well, anyways, they were saying like as you're going down the river, obviously it's like 60 feet deep,
Right.
but there'll be like a hump and then like a 4-foot drop. And the sales rep was saying like you'll go over this and you feel like you're gonna hit something like a rock or something, but that's just how the current is.
Yeah, he called me. He literally called me on the phone when he was in the river. He's like, man, you're not gonna believe this. I ran out of gas, and he goes, I'm on the trolling motor right now, and I'm just hanging to the edge of the river, like going back to the boat dock. He doesn't make long runs there,
Sure.
but
How far up are they from the fall? Like,
he was literally a few hundred yards from the falls.
Man.
I wouldn't even get remotely close.
That's what I
nope,
mean.
I'll be standing on the shore.
Well, I've seen videos of that where people
That's wild.
you see people decide they want to go over the falls, and I've seen cell phone videos where people go over. I'm like,
Wait,
oof.
seriously?
Oh yeah, yeah, it's bad, man. It's
I wonder. I don't know. Lunds are made pretty good.
I don't know.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I don't know if your trim tabs will help you on that one.
Yeah. Oh my.
Yeah, so that was kind of the story, and then Larry got me hooked up with London Mercury.
We keep referencing to Larry
Yeah.
Uhl.
Larry
Yeah,
Uhl.
Yep.
Yeah, he is the
The
purchasing specialist at
OG.
our Hebron location.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, Larry's the man. I mean, he knows everybody. He got me hooked up with Shimano and G Loomis. I'm also sponsored by Offshore Tackle Planer Board Company. They're a great sponsor. Really, really good people.
Larry's famous. Every iCast, MBS, everywhere we go, everyone knows Larry.
Oh yeah.
He's a good dude.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Yeah, Larry and I went down to the Bassmaster Classic. I think 2 years ago. Took a ride down there. Went to that show, and they had the trophy out there. And so Larry and I actually were on TV, like they film everybody around
Yeah,
the trophy,
sure.
that kind of thing. So that was pretty fun. Yeah, we drove down to Knoxville. It was a good one.
That would be a good trip.
You guys were looking at Vexus, weren't you?
Yeah, we talked to the Vexus guys. Yeah, we were. I mean that whole show down there is just crazy. Like the vendors and it's several buildings. In the convention center, it was pretty wild. I mean,
that's how iCast is, but the thing about iCast is it's not open to the public. It's only retailers, marketing,
Media.
Media.
and
Industry.
I can't imagine if there was like open to the public.
Oh, it was standing
where
room
where
only.
it is, yeah.
Crazy.
I mean, in Knoxville, obviously,
Sure.
Yeah, you wouldn't be able to walk around NICAST if it were open to the
No.
public.
No, not at all.
Ridiculous.
you could barely walk around there. So it was pretty awesome.
So let's keep
Yeah.
talking about walleye.
Yeah.
While we're on it. So for people that don't know, when you're on a walleye tournament or walleye trail, is there a specific technique that you would use, or just a little bit of everything to catch them?
Yeah,
Like, do you troll or
almost everybody's open water trolling with inline planer boards. I mean, if there has been tournaments won up, there's actually a guy named Randy Iyer. There's tournaments when the bite gets really tough. A lot of wind, dirty water, high pressure, whatever. You can always go over to the reefs in April and jig up 5 males, and there's been tournaments won up there. There are usually about 60 boats in the tournaments now. Lake Erie Walleye Trail's even grown tremendously since I stopped fishing it. But it's highly competitive. I mean, usually if the bite's good. I mean, a lot of those tournaments you're looking, 5 fish bag is, a lot of times it takes 40 pounds. I mean, the early spring tournament, there was one year where I think the winning bag for 5 fish was over 50.
Seriously?
I know that the one year we had I think we had 41.88 and we got 20th place.
Wow. How did you feel going into that weigh-in?
Oh, we had 5 fish Ohio's. I felt really good. Till our friends Virgil and Bill were the ones that won it, and they caught those 5 big females on, and we call it a pass. It's just maybe a half a mile to mile troll, and they caught all those fish in one little pod, out off the reefs, and just
what
10,
are the
11,
reefs?
12 pounders. It's just so Camp Perry. There's a reef complex there, so that's where the fish spawn. That's where the walleye spawn.
Is it just rock?
Yeah, it's just rock. Yeah, it's just shallower rock. The western basin of Lake Erie. So, walleyes on Lake Erie are actually migratory fish. So, if you watch the tournament trail for the Lake Erie Walleye Trail, it moves west to east to follow the migration. So, usually the first tournament is right there somewhere close to the, launches at somewhere close to the reefs there, and then they move a little bit closer to the islands. Then they'll move to Huron, and then usually the final tournament's in Lorraine in June. And then there'll be other tournaments later in the summer. Out Ashtabula. Those fish, they move all out. They're following the bait. So they move. They move west to east, and in the fall they come back. They've actually tracked this. You can go on the ODNR website and look at the migration.
Pattern.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. They've tagged fish and track them. You can kind of see where. So keep that in mind. I think a lot of people that don't know Lake Erie think, you just go to Lake Erie and go fishing.
Sure. It's so big, though.
Yeah, and listen, there's always resident fish too, but those are usually the younger ones. But the larger adult fish are the ones that that join the migration. Usually, if they're healthy, they're going to migrate.
Do they follow the fly spawn too? The mayfly spawn, obviously like Port Clinton and stuff. It's obviously like.
I don't think. It probably plays into it. I don't know enough about that. I know that when the mayfly spawn is on, though, the fishing's terrible, right?
Oh my gosh!
I mean, you can see it on your, I bet you can see it on your graph. Yeah, you can see the balls. You can see them coming off the bottom. And, it looks like bubbles coming off the bottom.
That was the issue that we had when we went on our charter. It's like right during the spawn, and like there's like puddles.
Yeah, you catch a fish, you'll see. Yeah, you'll see them.
It's like they're just not interested.
And you see the bass up there eating them. They're all, it's a
wild thing.
Yeah, they can actually, those mayfly hatches happen. You can see them on radar.
Yeah, like weather radar.
Weather radar.
Yeah, it looks like a storm.
Oh yeah.
It's wild, man. It's wild.
I've driven up to St. Clair during that time before, and your car's just covered in them.
That would upset me greatly.
Yeah. You hit the moo-moo when you get back.
Yep.
So you talked about planer boards. What is a planer board for people that don't know?
Sure. Yeah.
The company that's probably most famous for it is Offshore Tackle, and it's really just it's pretty a genius design. It's just a plastic board with a foam insert in the back of it to make it float, and it's got the line attaches on 2 places, and basically the term plane, it's just planing your line out away from your boat, right? So your boat's traveling in a forward direction, and you put your lure. So when you're trolling, line out for any given lure equals depth. So you try to figure out where the fish are in the water column by using your electronics. I actually have an app on my phone that shows me how deep the lures go.
Okay.
Like what depth I need to target, what specific lure. And you can actually, weight plays into that too. So you can actually use, offshore makes snap weights too. So you put snap weight on your line, put your lure out, maybe a snap weight. Then, we use line counter reels that are calibrated to let you know exactly how many feet of line you have, so you can replicate it across all your rods and reels, in your setup. And then you, once your lure's out to the distance you want it, you attach this board to the line and put it in the water, and it planes out away from the boat, and put the rod in the rod holder, and it's to me it's almost I like it better than trolling with there's some big charter boats that use like the planer mast, and you use the look like shower clips to clip the line on. To me that's more like harvesting. The fish in the way you still fight the fish the whole way with an inline planer board. It's attached to your line. And it's almost akin to me, kind of like bobber fishing, really.
Yeah.
I will say though, if you're out there on a tough day in a tournament, you get board fatigue. Mm-hmm. You're staring at those yellow boards all day. Yeah. And they're like burned into your retinas. Like you get home that night, and you like close your eyes and
see 'em.
You can still see the yellow planer boards with the red flags.
So if you get a hit on a planer board, is there like a tip-up flag or something?
Yeah, there's a tattle flag on there, spring-loaded. And offshore has advanced that technology. They've got better springs on them than the Gen 1, and you can adjust the tension. So there's actually holes in the planer board itself and in the flag itself, so you can move the spring around based on, if you're using a deeper diving lure with a heavier weight, and you're fishing deeper in the water column, you're going to need more tension on there so that, but yeah, you definitely want to have that tattle flag working now too, especially on Lake Erie because there's just so many small fish in there. Oh, yeah. And you can be dragging a 10-inch walleye for hours, and you think your lure's out there working, and it's it's dragging a fish. So the tattle flag's definitely good. We used to do a lot more. We now primarily, I think most guys are fishing with deep diving crankbaits. That's the main lure of choice on Lake Erie for trolling now. But back in the day, we used to do a lot more spinner fishing too, inline spinner fishing with night crawlers and weights. And those tattle flags are really great for that. I mean, you could see that. You could set them. You're also going a little slower, so when you're spinner fishing, you're fishing 0.8 to 1.0 miles an hour. Most guys that are, early in the spring, you might get down to 1 or 1.2 with a crankbait bite, but late in the summer, guys go up to 2.4. So you can move pretty quickly trolling crankbaits. So it just depends on what you're fishing for and how you're fishing. So
like lines out, does that depend on your boat size, or could you have 6 lines out in the water?
Oh, you can have, yeah. The law. It used to be two rods per angler. Now it's 3.
Okay.
Some of these charter, some of the big charter guys, that have like a big Ranger 622 or whatever. Those guys might put 10 rods out per side.
Yeah.
With inline planer boards, and and can keep them from getting tangled and all that. So you got to set them up the right way that way too. So you got to let the line clear. So if you catch a fish on the outside, if you got 3 on one side, you got to let that fish clear the inside 2 lines. So you basically got to let them pull back,
and then bring them up the middle.
And really that's what's genius about the design too. Like if you bring them up the middle, you're not going to tangle those other two lines. So. A lot of times what we'll do is we get a fish on the port side of the boat, we'll move to the starboard side and reel from that side, so you're kind of pulling it across. So you're not getting it tangled in your other lines. It's kind of hard to explain. You almost need like a visual, but
my visual has always been like think of like a tractor and like an implement.
Yeah.
That's kind of like the visual I've always had of it too. Like you have like the fingers that are out, and then of course the middle is always clear.
Yeah, middle's always clear, and then you want to, what you also want to, a lot of times guys ask. I think people think on the line counter, like the line once you put that board on, there's no further effect on the lure. You could have it 20 additional feet from your boat, or 200 feet, doesn't really, unless you're turning or you speed up or slow down. You turn, if you, let's say, you turn to the starboard, the port side baits are gonna get pulled harder in the, in the side that you're turning towards, that side's gonna move up, right? So, that you can make fish bite that way too, by speeding up and slowing down, making turns. That's a good way to learn, if you want to get the right speed. Like if you make a turn and the boards on the inside go off, then you need to slow down.
Yeah.
You need to slow down.
Yeah, okay.
Boards on the outside get bit when you turn.
Those are the ones getting pulled harder. And
they're moving
deeper.
faster. They're moving faster too.
Faster,
So then you speed up a little bit.
Okay.
So there's all these little tips and tricks, that you figure out. I can tell you a story, actually. Rod and I were fishing in a tournament on Lake Erie one year, and we got tangled. So what we do a lot of times is we use a kicker motor in the back of the boat to for propulsion, usually a 9.9 or a 15 horse kicker, and then we'll use our electric trolling motor in the front for steering. Yeah. And I'll keep the I have use Minn Kota, so I'll just keep the remote around my neck. Well, we were back in the back screwing around with the fish or whatever, and I must have accidentally hit the button on the remote, the boat just turned, and all our boards stalled on the one side. The boat turned really hard, and all our boards stalled. We were fishing southeast of Kelly's Island, and we straightened the boat back up. I put the motor back on, and we had 2 big fish on that inside.
Yeah.
And so literally the rest of the day then we started just making really hard turns and stalling our boards out. And what was happening is we were using spinners, inline spinners. What was happening is it was in the sand there on the southeast side of Kelly's. Those baits would fall all the way to the bottom, and those big fish were laying there. And then when you'd re-engage the board, they'd grab it. I mean, we caught like a 38-pound bag that day doing that, and we found it out by complete accident.
That's crazy.
It's crazy how that happens.
Yeah, you got to be, and I guess that's the lesson, right? Like, I don't care what you're fishing for, if it's bluegills or crappies or walleyes or bass or muskie, like, you catch a fish, it's telling you something. They don't ever bite for no reason.
Exactly.
You got them to eat it. Now you just got to figure out how to replicate that. So.
Hey everyone, we need to take a quick break from the conversation to let you know about our first annual Caesar Creek Open Fishing Tournament on Saturday, April 23rd. The tournament runs from safe light until 3 p.m. and not only are we paying out the top 8 teams, but we will be also raffling off a Humminbird Helix 7 and drawing for 8 $50 Vance Outdoor gift cards. For more information or to register online, visit vanceoutdoors.com/Caesar Creek Open. Again, that's Vance, VANCE, outdoors.com/Caesar Creek Open. Now let's jump back into the conversation.
So we want to talk about the fish of 10,000 casts.
Yeah, muskies.
Muskies.
Yeah,
You've caught some monsters in your day.
I've caught some good ones. Yeah, I'm still, I got to 50, so I've caught a few 50 inchers, but now I want to, I want a 55. So actually, I got into muskie fishing, with my friends from Chicago. Specifically, I have a buddy that's a family practice dog up in Chicago. His name's John Tenenfeld. Probably 2006, 5 or 6, we went to the Chicago Muskie Show, and we met this guy named Bill Sandy. He has a lodge on Lake of the Woods, Ontario, Sandy's Black Hawk Island.
Yeah.
And we went up there, and since then I've been hooked on muskies, man. I just, on Lake of the Woods or on Lake St. Clair, they're definitely not the fish of 10,000 casts. There's a lot of muskies in both. Oh yeah, there's a lot of a lot of bass fishermen catch them on St. Clair, incidental catches or whatever. But they're just awesome fish, man.
I feel like the people who call it the fish of 10,000 casts are the people that are fishing for them in like Ohio.
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah,
Oh, sure.
yeah. Around here, they are definitely. Yeah, they might be the fish of 10 million casts. I don't know. There's guys that whack them here too.
They sure do. Do you ever fish for them?
I do fish. I've caught some Ohio. I've never caught a big one in Ohio though.
What lakes?
Alum Creek. I fished Leesville, Salt Fork. Yeah, but there was a spring a few years ago. The problem with Alum Creek right now is a lot of them are getting out.
Oh yeah,
they get
floods.
When it floods, they get they open the gates of the spillway and they get washed down into and they've tried to they try to shock them and move them back in or whatever. But I know a lot of bass fishermen say they catch them on Alum. There's a good population now. There's some big fish. They've been stocking them in there a long time.
What about Caesar Creek?
I've never fished there, but I know it's good. It's a good fishery.
That's like my home lake,
Yeah.
and I've seen a ton. Only one's ever been caught on my boat.
Yeah.
But I see them all the time. I've had them. One of my buddies who's not very experienced was throwing this big, ugly bass jig, and he flipped it under this tree. And I don't even think he got down to the bottom. He's already ready for his next cast. And he gets it up to the boat, and there's like a 35-inch muskie chasing it. And he started freaking out.
Oh, I bet.
But I don't know, man. I think I'll stick to bass.
I love muskies. I mean, but I'm going to fish for muskies. I'm a little, I'd rather go fish.
Yeah.
I mean, Lake St. Clair is a 3.5-hour drive. I'd rather, I've done it many times. I'll leave Columbus at 4 and just fish St. Clair for the day and drive back. I'd rather do that than spend a whole day at Alum Creek. And
Well, you figure getting to St. Clair versus getting to like Salt Fork. I mean,
it's not that big.
Hour.
It's not that big. It's not that big a difference, really. You know what I mean? So I'd rather. Not to knock the Ohio fisheries because they are good. And not everybody has the time or the ability to make those trips. But for me, I'm trying to catch
50.
I just think you're shot at getting a 50 when there's a lot more fish in that system. It's a lot better chance.
I have never tried to catch a muskie. Like,
it's fun, man.
I'm definitely open to try it.
Sounds like we're setting up a trip here.
Yeah, oh yeah, we can
That's
do
what it
that.
sounds like.
Yeah.
That's what it sounds like.
It'll happen. But the thing is, like, if I go up to St. Clair, I want to catch some smallmouth.
You just got to
do
listen.
both.
I took my buddy Aaron out one evening. He's a bass guy too, and he caught 3 over 40 one evening.
Oh my god!
And when you get on them, you find them in the summertime. I mean, you can get them pretty good. We were on the fishing the Canadian side out kind of the middle of the lake. I knew when he had his first one because I heard him grunt, like oh yeah. I look back and it's splashing. He's going. And I was like, "Wow, it's pretty awesome." Yeah. So it's.
That cracks me.
Yeah, the fig. I have I've met some great people in musky fishing. I have a good friend, Brandon Lilly. He has a great. He actually has a company. He makes outdoor. It's called Figure 8 Musky Gear.
Mm-hmm.
Makes T-shirts, hats, all that kind of stuff. So I've been down to West Virginia and fished with those guys. He has a tournament every year. I'm down on Stonewall.
Have you heard of that? There's like a river or a creek.
Yeah, the new river. Well, the new river has them.
Yeah,
that
looks so
the
fun.
James and those guys all fish. Yeah, they all fit. That's where Brandon lives in Beckley.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And him and my buddy Seth Thompson. We actually fish the Bondi Muskie Slam together every year. The three of us, and then there's actually another friend of ours, Ken Trail. He's a guide down in Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So they fish the new and the James down there.
I need to get down there.
I just see
it's
people,
beautiful. Yeah.
My grandparents are from Ronsford, which is right there in Beckley.
Yep.
In New River Gorge. I got some pictures of my grandpa fishing, like old Super 8 like videos back in the day from like them fishing in the 60s. I need to get down there.
I've seen videos of people in kayaks just smacking muskie.
It's a beautiful part of the country, man.
Yeah,
It's
and
beautiful.
it's pretty skinny water too.
Yeah, I was out on St. Clair one fall, and she's become a pretty famous kayak bass fisherman. This Christine Fisher, have you guys seen her?
Yeah.
I saw her catch a 49-incher on St. Clair one day and net it herself.
Was she trying to catch bass?
She was musky fishing in her kayak out in the late fall in St. Clair in like 45-degree water.
Man.
Yeah, and she netted it herself. And actually, a buddy of mine, he's a photographer. He took a picture of her with her fish and sent it to her. He had like this big lens on his camera. So so it's pretty cool.
What's that setup look like? I mean, what's the musky setup? I mean, how's that? Is it bi-seasonal? Is it? I mean, do you change it up?
Well, for a lot of the casting now, we're using these big soft plastic baits that weigh a lot. So. You probably the rod and reel setup I use. Shimano has a great rod called a Skix. So I like 8.5 to some of these rods go even up to 10 foot.
Jeez.
And Trank's 400 or 500 reel. I prefer the 500 just because I'm used to it. It's a big reel, but you can fish them big baits all day with it. I mean, it really. I think it's 42 inches of line per crank, and then. We use braided line. I use Power Pro, 100-pound Power Pro, 100-pound Power Pro, and fluorocarbon leader. For casting, you probably want like a 12-inch fluorocarbon leader. 150-pound probably.
Seriously.
Fluoro, yeah. And
oh my gosh.
And then these baits. There's two main manufacturers. Musky Innovations makes the Bulldog, and then Chaos Tackle makes a bait called the Medusa.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I mean, those are the two.
We were talking about that before.
Yeah, too big, and really it's just, when you're out there fishing open water like on Lake St. Clair, you're just drifting and just bombing these baits out, bombing them as far as you can, and they splash. I mean, it's like a big splash, I'm sure the muskies know, they hear that splash and they know something's up, and then there's nothing in the system that looks like these things. I mean, the Bulldog looks like I mean, it's literally the one we throw is called a pounder. It weighs a pound.
Isn't it like a missile, and then it's just got a curly tail?
Big long curly tail, right? And then the Medusa literally, has the.
We just got pulled up here.
The Medusa has 3 tails on it. I actually love. I've caught a lot more big fish on the Medusa. I mean, that's what all my PBs have been on a Medusa. But the Bulldogs work great too. And they'll come up, man. They'll eat them baits. They'll just
smack it.
There's a few guides up there, Spencer Berman and Mike Holbert, and these guys. They started. They're the ones that kind of started and figured out this open water casting techniques. I think historically, actually, I think the founder of Vance is Maurice Poffin's a big musky fisherman.
Oh, yeah. Buckeye Outdoors.
Buckeye Outdoors. Yeah. So but he's a troller.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's primarily a troller, which is fine. You can troll for him and catch
I don't
him.
know. You had a little bit in your voice when you said troller.
Yeah, trolling. I mean, I've caught him trolling. It's fun. I mean, we had a 17 fish day. You know, the national pro staff manager of Shimano, so I brought him to town, and I got to be honest. You know, I was pretty nervous about taking him fishing, Blaine Anderson, because I thought, man, I got to impress this guy, right? So
of course
he comes up. We fished the north end of the lake for 2 days. He was in for a 3-day fishing trip. We fished for 2 days and caught one.
Oh, God.
And I was like, man, this sucks, you know. And I have a buddy that's a guide on the Canadian side. His name's Kyle Moxon. And Kyle's like, hey, man, Bell River's on. You guys need to come down here. And we went down there, and it was on. I think we went 17 to 24, trolling big 10-inch crankbaits. And, you know, the colder water. So open water trolling in the summer, some of these guides, you know, they'll troll 5 miles an hour. We were trolling about 2.5 to 3. And I think we went 17 to 24. Our biggest was 54 inches.
God.
You know, yeah, it's
so a 10-inch crankbait.
Yeah, it's so the company that there's a guy up in Minnesota makes an awesome bait. It's called the Headlock, and it's a flat-sided 10. It's replicating a big shad.
Wow.
What's one of those run you?
They're like $100. Yeah, that's all. Right?
What's it say, like muskieshop.com?
Yep, yeah.
12 there's a 12-inch right
Team
here.
Rhino Outdoors is a great one.
$94.99.
Jeez.
So you're still using the same kind of leader material and everything?
So the same setup, except when you're trolling, you know, you want to use a longer leader, you know. So like I got a 12-inch casting leader for trolling. I'll use like a 36-inch leader, but same weight, you know, 150, 200-pound fluoro. I don't make them. I usually buy them.
I was going to ask you because I remember at the fishing show a couple years back, you were talking about like you bought them pre-made.
Yeah. I mean, I've tried to make them myself, and you can do that, I guess. But you know, there's guys that really are good at it, you know, and I like supporting it. Support the guys that are making them. So I think Trophy Time is there's a guy down there. I think that's who I buy mine from. I tend to buy in bulk, and then I don't need them for a few years. You know, I have a couple of. There's a company called Just In Case. They actually make like big cases for musky baits and stuff. But I bought these tubes that are just awesome. They've got, you know, they're like a really thick plexiglass tube with 2 screw-on ends on it. You know, and you can keep the leaders in there. And I just throw them in my boat. You know, just keep them in there. So.
Yeah, cool. How as far as like the Medusa Lures and the $100 crankbait, how long do one of those last?
A Medusa, I mean, it's basically forever. I mean,
as long as you don't tear it up.
Yeah, those Medusas. I mean, there's you can either use heat because they're rubber. You know, you can heat it. You can heat up like a butter knife if you get a big tear in them. You can. I wish I had one in here. I'd show you guys. I've got baits that like when you
pull one up here.
When you pull them apart, like you can see the teeth marks in them and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's interesting too. A lot of times those fish will come up and hit that thing by the head.
Yeah.
You know.
That's how bass eat sometimes. Head first.
Pulls one up.
So that second, actually the top left, that color there. Yeah. That's a pretty famous color. And then so you see that black and orange, the black and orange right there with the white belly. That's a famous St. Clair color. It's called ball liquor.
That's awesome. What are these? Yeah. So we just pulled up, for those, I mean, obviously you're listening, we just pulled up Medusa Musky Lure on Google.
Yeah, Chaos Tackle.
Yeah, Chaos Tackle, yep.
But you'll look at that black and orange one and you're like, why the hell in clear blue water? But I think it's because they can see it.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think about it, you're looking up. You know, on a bright sunny day, that fish is looking up, and it just has to be that they can pick the. You know, I think it's the, it's the contrast of the color.
That one right there.
Yeah. I'd like to have one of those to cast.
They're sweet. These are some sweet looking.
Yeah, they're cool, man. I mean, you know,
I've got one.
And you know, the other thing is, like, I always tell guys, you're going to get in the musky fishing, get you a good file, keep your hook sharp. I mean, there's nothing worse than casting for several hours and you get that opportunity and your hook's dull or you get a bent tip. You know, you know, it's surprising how easy those hook tips can get bent on the side of the boat or whatever. I
was going to pick one of those up. We sell those Work Sharp little toolkits, and they have a slot.
That's a good habit to have, and even bass fishing, I think. You know, what I mean, listen, I think
grinder.
Yeah, I think bass fishing. You know, you can. I mean, you've got these manufacturers that are using really good metal. You know, Gamakatsu or VMC. These companies are using really high end metal. But I think when in those treble hooks, I mean, we're talking really big, 9/0, 7/0, big treble hooks. The tips of them get bent pretty easy.
Sure, definitely.
So
I've lost my fair share of fish because of not sharpening my hooks.
Yeah.
Especially on jigs, flipping them all day and just getting them hung up
in the wood or whatever.
and then they just dull.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So it's fun. Listen, I mean, I think the the other thing for folks out there listening, I mean, I can't say this enough. If you're going to cast for muskies, you need to figure 8 every cast.
Yeah.
I was going to ask about
Yeah,
that.
Because they'll follow those baits, man. They'll follow them. And, the figure 8 technique, you can look it up online too. Brandon Lilly will be happy I'm saying this because that's his tagline for Figure 8 Musky Gear, the clothing company. But, you got to figure 8 every cast, man.
Yep.
And it's really just and it's not just whipping the lure around as fast as you can. You got to really think about what you're doing there because the whole idea of a figure 8 is to entice the fish to eat. So sometimes you might need to you got to think about it like you're figure 8ing in 3 dimensions. Speed matters.
Yeah.
Bill Sandy taught me this. I think you read the fish. If the fish is really hot, you can't get it away from them. They're gonna catch it.
Yeah.
Right. So I think the mistake a lot of guys they see that big fish fall in the lure and they freeze and they stop it. Well, I'll just ask you this: if you're a 6-inch fish and you got a 50-inch fish following you, gonna stop?
They freak out.
No.
You're gonna do whatever you got to do. And think about it, you've seen that in nature with even bass chasing bluegills in a pond or whatever. You're seeing them get up on the bank and the
They're
bluegills trying to get
so
away.
fast.
And they're so fast. So that figure 8 technique works really well because they almost every time they're gonna hit it on the turn. So you got to imagine you're bringing that lure through, right? And as you turn it, that fish is following it here, and then you're giving them a look at the the entire face of the bait.
Yeah.
And they'll cut that angle off and grab it. That's what they almost. That's
How far out do you think you start that process? Like
mean,
if you see something on the line?
I mean, I do it every cast, and I just do it based on how much line I got out. You know, I might have my leader's 12 inches. I probably got another 3 inches of line out. 3 to 5 inches of line out. Because you got to have the right. If you've got too much line out, it's difficult to make your turns. So you just get used to it. It's just force of habit. And then if you do it every time, it's kind of like making free throws in basketball. Or I was a field goal kicker, right? You want to get that muscle memory going.
Yeah.
If you get that muscle memory going, then you're going to have a tendency to be better at it and catch more
next
fish.
thing you know, you're doing it when you're like bass fishing. You're just like subconsciously.
Yeah, right.
Have you caught a bunch doing that?
Oh yeah, a whole bunch. I mean,
Really?
I caught one up at Lake of the Woods in 2018, and I went around in the 8, I bet you, for a minute. And my buddy was standing, on the deck of the boat. I was actually in the back of the boat, and he was on the deck on the other side of the windshield, but he was looking down the water, and he could see the fish. I couldn't even see the fish. I'd see flashes of it every once in a while, and he just kept saying, "Keep going, man. She's still there. Keep going." And I tell you, I got a picture of it. I'll show you guys on my phone after this, but she choked it.
Wow.
She finally ate it.
Choked it.
I mean, choked it like
Wow.
like all that was. I mean, and ate it by the head once again. And all, I mean, the tips of the tails were the only thing sticking out. I mean, she absolutely choked it.
Big one?
47 probably.
Well, big enough.
Big
That's-
fat fish.
yeah.
I mean that trip, I caught in a week 24 over 40. And I caught my personal best. The first hour and a half we were there, I caught a 52 and a half. My buddy John all 3 guys on the trip caught a 50. Fall at Lake of the Woods is the time to go. They're
October?
It was late September. It gets colder up there earlier. But late September, early October. Yeah, I mean, and I prefer muskies are actually really sensitive to moon phase too. They're top predators, like so I prefer a new moon. I've just had better luck then. I think the fish, especially in the summertime, tend to, on a full moon, feed more at night. You can catch them still, obviously. A lot of times the midday bite's better on a full moon, because they've, you think about it, right? They've been out partying all night, so they're sleeping in.
Yeah, exactly. That makes sense. Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah. What you got? I know you guys, we talked a little bit about St. Clair. Did you want to dive into that some more? Or?
We're
you get some tips. So these guys have a trip coming up in April?
Well, depending on when this comes out, we may have already been on the trip.
Yeah, you may have already been on the trip. So,
yeah, let's talk a little bit about St. Clair.
If you go up to St. Clair, say you were coming with us in April, April 15th, what are you fishing for?
Oh, in April, I'm definitely fishing for smallies for sure.
Smallies.
I mean, even though they've opened you can fish for muskies year-round now. It used to be a season, right? It didn't start till June and then into December. They changed that, I think, 2 years ago. You can fish for muskies. But, yeah, I'm fishing for smallies.
What's your plan?
as far as
where are you going to go? What are you going to use?
I mean, listen, I think they're getting ready to do their thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a spawning period, right? They're pulling up, yeah. So I mean, anywhere around the mile roads, the whole western shore, you can fit. I mean, it's just unbelievable. You can find them. They can be as shallow as 2 or 3 feet or 4 feet or as deep.
It's crazy, man. They're everywhere.
But if there's just and it depends on water temperature, it depends on weather, it depends on a lot of different things. I love fishing for them with jerk baits. Time of year, if you can get on a good jerk bait bite, it's awesome. Cold water jerk bait bite. Swim baits are awesome.
Never really done really well on them.
Yeah, swim bait. Yeah, you should throw more. I mean, my buddy Aaron is the one that kind of got me on that. Yeah, that swim bait thing it's a great way to catch them too, man. It's just like
when we go up there, I had no experience throwing a jerk bait like 2 years ago, and it was so windy, I didn't even put my trolling motor down.
Yeah,
like I was in a 17-foot boat. I had like a 12-volt trolling motor. I'm like, it's not even worth putting my trolling motor down.
You just drift.
Yeah, and at first we caught a couple, and then I actually put my trolling motor down, turned it up all the way, and I had my side imaging. And every rock pile we could see on side imaging, we caught like 5 fish off of it. And that's where I really learned to throw jerk bait. And we were working it pretty hard.
Oh yeah, I'm
like,
it's all about the pause, man.
Yeah, I can't believe like I'm jerking it a cadence of like 3 pause, 2 pause, 3 pause, and I'm pausing for probably like 3 seconds.
Oh yeah.
And when you load up again after your pause, the fish is there.
Oh yeah.
And that's when you just lean into it and go, and it's
awesome.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's
crazy.
Really awesome. Yeah, so we're gonna probably go the next week after you because, like I told you before, man, I can't go on Easter if I want to stay married. So
come on.
Yeah.
So these single guys over here, I feel it.
Yeah, right. You
I'm
do whatever you want.
You
know what I mean? Like, come on, man.
We got our Cedar Creek tournament then, so
I'll be playing Easter Bunny while you're out catching smallies.
Well, it's crazy because I'm gonna go the 15th, and then you're gonna go that next weekend.
Yep.
And then I'm going the weekend after that.
We'll have so I'll have intel, and
you'll we better be on them by that point.
I think we'll figure something out.
But I've caught them, obviously tubes, a little tiny tube. I mean, if you can find any bit of structure out there, we were catching them under docks. It was too windy for us to fish the main lake, obviously, in my small little boat. So we were skipping up under docks, and in one dock we caught 50 fish. I don't even know how 50 fish could fit under it.
Oh yeah, it's crazy. I mean. Yeah, that lake is a fish factory. Muskies, smallies.
I love it.
I mean, there's sturgeon,
and for people,
walleye.
In Ohio, it's 3.5, 4 hours.
Be wary where you stay.
Yes, you do need to be careful.
You definitely need to do your homework on where you're going to stay up there if you want to keep your stuff.
I think we're going to just take your advice on where to stay and what you.
Yeah. We just got a hotel.
Yeah, I gave you the spot right.
The one place I have stayed up there, it's the worst. It's in a canal, obviously. It's a little Airbnb in a canal, and it's a one-way street. So if I'm pulling down there with my boat and a car's coming at us,
the place I gave you guys, you'll be good.
Yeah.
Cool.
The car coming at us would have to do something.
Yeah.
And it's so tight. There's water on one side, on your left, as you're going down it, and then on your right is the house, and then there's another canal. So I can't even back into the driveway. So you have to unhook the boat and push it back up into the driveway. It's crazy.
Yeah, I've never had any issues up there as far as myself, but I did hear a story about, I think it was one of the elite guys had his whole rig stolen up there from a hotel.
What?
Came out in the morning, boat, truck, gone.
Man.
That would suck.
Oh, yeah.
They couldn't have gotten far.
Well, I'm sure by the time I'm sure by the time they got the stuff, there wasn't much left.
But still, that's probably like... That dude probably got like $30,000 worth of gear.
Oh yeah,
Clothes, rods, reels,
easy,
electronics. But how's the walleye up there early April?
It's good. I mean, it's loaded with walleye. It's in the same system as Erie. So it's loaded.
Jigging.
You can catch them jigging, casting, trolling. We'll catch them incidentally when we catch muskies incidentally too. You'll have that happen when you're up there throwing jerk baits too. You'll go to pull and guess what?
That was a muskie.
Yeah, toothy guy got you.
Yep. My buddy hooked one. It was another one of my buddies who's not very experienced, and he hooked a muskie. Mm-hmm. And I thought he was snagged because we're going against the wind and his drag's just. Well, I look out and I see a flash that's like this big. And I'm like, keep it tight, and then it broke him off. Mm-hmm. But
man, I'm just excited to catch a smallmouth bigger than like 1 pound. Because smallmouth for me is like creek fishing around here, and they're all like a pound and under. I've never caught one bigger than a pound.
I told him the first fish he catches up there will break his PB.
Oh, I'm sure it will.
And you're gonna fight it.
I hope it's
like
a 6.
Oh, dude, that would be great.
What's your biggest smallmouth up there?
At St. Clair, it's just under 6 probably. I caught a 7-8 at Washington Island in Door County.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Mine is right at 6. So we were fishing. We put in at the Metro Park, which I don't recommend because you have to idle for like 2 miles. Mm-hmm. And the main lake again was too windy for us, so we went and fished inside the Metro Park, which I've heard was good for largemouth. Didn't catch a single thing. So we went back out into that little bay right before you take off, mm-hmm. and I'm just throwing a Ned rig, dragging it. We're catching a couple, and I set the hook, and it's just dead. It just sits down. Like I can't move it. I can't do anything. It just sits on the bottom. And these guys going by in this big Ranger deep feeder, like, oh, he's hung up. Well, then the fish starts to run, and my drag's screaming. And finally I get it up, and it was a 6-pounder.
That's a nice one. Yeah,
right there where you take off.
Oh, yeah.
There's nothing there. I think the grass, it was just starting to grow. And that fish had, like, literally just pulled up from
the emerging weeds. That's, the lake where we have the lake house up here, Lake Buckhorn in the spring. Yeah. Those weeds first start coming up, and you can throw Ned rigs, and you can just feel it. Barely.
That's what it was.
A lot of times when you feel it come off, that's when they grab it. They're just hanging up a little bit. Yeah, that's awesome.
I've never fished St. Clair when there's grass though.
Yeah, you go up there in the summer.
There's a good amount of it.
Yeah, when you go up there in the summer, that's the deal, right? You got to find like these sandy patches, and the edges of the weeds and stuff. Listen, I'm, for me, my goal this year is to really utilize, the Panoptics, Mega Live, all that stuff. Really try to.
I was just getting ready to ask about Panoptics.
So what are you running on your boat?
I've got Humminbird and Garmin on my boat.
Both live?
Yeah, Mega Live and
You have 2 live imaging units.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah. Well, why not?
You're gonna get the new Garmin that just came out, the Plus.
Yeah. I want to get it, but I like I said, I think, I've used it and I use it to find fish, but I think my goal this year is to try to, target specific fish with it.
Big ones. You can tell which one's big.
You can tell which one's big. Yeah. I've watched enough guys doing it now. I brought his name up to you guys a few times. This guy, Josh Jones, what he's doing in Texas right now is it's obscene, really.
Every day he posts
share lunkers, right? You guys know about the share lunker program where the fish has to be over 13 pounds. It's actually a genius program. They do it in Texas where, they catch these giant fish and then they're actually, using them for a breeding program, and they're stocking that, that strain of bass, So, a fish lives to be, old enough to get to 13, 14, 15 pounds. Good genetics.
Oh, sure. Definitely.
I know. I don't think we have very good stocking here in Ohio. I don't think we have any at all, right?
Ohio,
it's
take
all
notes.
Natural, right? Yeah. So if you're listening, ODNR,
take notes.
Share lunker program.
Yep.
We'll start with the ones that they don't even take a look at. Let's just do it with 7-pounders in Ohio. We can get that. Yeah. 6-pounders.
In Texas, they just toss those back.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's what they did. That's how they, the share lunker thing. That's why you go to Lake Fork now and you're seeing these guys, 40-pound bags or whatever.
Have you watched that event this week?
Mm-hmm.
There's 10-pounders left and right.
Yep. Listen, it's genetics, man. You're taking the best breeders, the ones that are the strongest and have the best likelihood of getting big, and you're propagating that DNA across your fishery. That's
So what these guys are doing is obviously these fish are pre-spawn, and they're throwing A-rigs. And
Josh, A-rigs, big swim baits.
And they're watching these fish eat their baits.
Yeah, and then listen, the thing that's amazing to me is like a good part of the summer when he's fishing in warm water, he's throwing swim jigs with no trailer. And it's not like he's doing anything crazy with it. I've watched the videos. He just finds the fish, throws the swim jig past the fish and just reels it over top of him slow on fluorocarbon. They come up and smash it. And no trailer. He cuts the weed guard off. He's sponsored by, I think, Six Sense. He uses the braided swim jig is what he's, I think he said 5/8.
Wow.
5/8 or 5/16. I can't remember now. But, yeah, he's...
Probably 5/8 if it's deep.
Yeah, and, like I said, I've watched him do it so many times. And he'll call he calls his shot almost every time. There she is, got her.
He's done it so much, he knows when a fish is
on it. I think he made a comment the one day I was watching his video. He said that he's rarely caught a fish that he didn't see eat since 2017. So.
Oh my gosh.
The technology is amazing. It really is changing the game. But, I think it's still, old habits die hard, right? I think we still have a tendency to think, I got to go just down that bank. If I just go down that bank, eventually I'll catch one. If you can, he said a lot of times he doesn't even start his big motor. And that's why he's so big on these lithium batteries. He said, because you can't fish the way he fishes without lithium on your trolling motor.
Yeah.
He's got the thing on 10 and he's scanning. He's just looking for fish. And when he finds them, he fishes for them. That's how he does it.
He's just going.
He's just going, man. He said, he spends hours and hours and hours just driving. He said, sometimes he might go a mile before he makes a cast. But he knows what he's looking for, And I think that's the
that's fair, because if you're not doing that and you have that stuff on your boat, then what do you even have?
Well, that's something
exactly.
And I've had it and like I said, I've seen fish. I've used it more for vertical jigging than I have for for crappies and stuff. Mm-hmm. I've seen fish eat. Saw guys on, I fish on Hoover Reservoir over here. I've caught a lot of crappies. It's really awesome. You get over top of a brush pile, you can put your lure. And I'll tell you something, we want to talk about crappies, but, the thing that I've found with crappies, and it's really amazing with vertical jigging, is the hold is when they eat it. Very rarely am I seeing a crappie eat my bait when I'm moving it. It's when it's sitting there.
Yeah.
The movement is what gets their attention. But once they're coming at it, subtle movements and just hold it, or even just try to take it away from them. Move it up the water column and they'll come and eat it.
I can relate to that, man, because I've got some nice Garmin stuff. I've got live scope now, but I didn't before now.
Right.
And I've got fish marked under me, and I can remember just jigging. And when I look away to do something, my bait's just sitting there. I'm just holding it over the edge, and I'll turn around and I'll look back up, and that's when I got the bite.
Yeah.
It's just sitting.
Well, it's the same with a jerk bait. When you're fishing for smallmouth, it's that pause. It's kind of that. I do think there's an element to, we mentioned earlier with the muskie chasing the bait, but that's when they're getting chased. But I think, oftentimes, those smaller bait fish, they will just either act like they're dead, or they pause, and that's when the fish, that's what triggers.
All right, I got
it. Yeah, triggers that. Yeah, it triggers that strike instinct. So, the live sonar stuff is just absolutely amazing. But I do think for your electronics on your boat, when you're using all this technology and there's so much power required, I just think lithium is such a such a tool. They're lighter, they last longer, all that. So I think it's definitely an important tool.
So you've got 2 live imaging units. Mm-hmm. You've got 360.
I do not have 360.
No.
I had it on my old boat. I know everybody swears by it, but I didn't use it much. I just found myself watching the live imaging.
Why get it if you don't use it?
Yeah. So, but in my setup, I've got all my electronics running off a 100 amp hour lithium battery, and then I've got 300 amp hour lithium batteries, for my trolling motor, and then I've got for my main motor, I've just got a regular
AGM, cranking.
Regular cranking. Because I think Mercury did put out a bulletin that said that they don't want you.
It burns up I think it's the alternators.
Yeah. So I just opted to go with and that's the only thing I have hooked to it, right? So I don't have to worry about any kind of interference or any of that stuff. So
Larry and I have looked a lot into lithiums, and a lot of the companies now have mastered the cranking.
Yeah, they do. I saw yesterday. I was over at Boat Things. I stopped over there to see Dennis, those guys, and I saw they were putting a MillerTech cranking battery in a new boat.
They've got it down.
Yeah, they got it. Yeah, I think, but you got to buy the cranking specific lithium too.
Yeah.
So.
It's crazy stuff, man. But I'm excited to get mine. You're gonna have to teach me how to use it.
Yeah. Well, I don't know how good a teacher I am, but I'll try.
Well, guys, we've been going for just a little over an hour now.
Goes quick.
Doesn't
Yeah.
feel like it.
Wow.
And I'm sure we could go another 2 easily, but we're probably going to wrap it up for this episode. And
we can always get them back on, too. We'll get a recap after everyone gets back on the trip.
Definitely.
Obviously, we're
after the
recording
spring,
this before the trip.
once the fishing slows down, we'll have plenty of fishing stories.
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
Before we end it completely, Jason, you want to shout out like your Instagram page or anything, like if you
So I mean, if you want, I mean, I'm an old school guy, right? So I think my Instagram is Jason Plant 56. But you know, if you just look Jason Plant on Facebook, I've got a picture of me holding the big muskie. You can't miss me. So
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thanks for
cool.
coming in, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
Appreciate making the drive down here.
Yep, awesome.
All right, everyone, that's all we have for you today. We hope you enjoyed that conversation with Jason. It's always great to get people in the studio and share our stories. As always, we appreciate you listening. Please give us a rating and share the podcast with a friend. And until next time, enjoy the pursuit.